Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Rihanna. 2023 was the most watched Super Bowl broadcasted in the United States thanks to Rihanna. Like really, at the end of the day, Rihanna's concert was interrupted by a football game, which was weird. What was honestly a truly outstanding performance by a woman who is pregnant with her second child would soon be met with controversy, as millions of viewers have dived into a debate to label her performance as one of the worst Super Bowl performances of our time because she didn't sing songs people wanted her to sing, she didn't do a big flashy show, and now people are even accusing the star of lip syncing. However, to shut all you haters down, Rihanna hasn't performed solo and live since 2016, and despite this, she didn't miss a beat as she cycled through some of her biggest hits. Not to mention, when she announced she was pregnant while holding her belly during the show, she made a powerful statement for women all around the world, and it's impressive. Number 9, the Black Eyed Peas. Out of all the performances to happen at the Super Bowl, the Black Eyed Peas had to have one of the worst performances of all time. If you tuned to watch their performance back in 2011, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, because there was nothing cool or magical about their set. The only thing that was actually really interesting about their performance was their light up robot suits, duh. The worst part about their performance though had to be their version of I've Had the Time of My Life. Not only was their entire show uninspiring and boring, they sang so badly, lovelessly, and they secured themselves extra negative points when Fergie butchered Sweet Child of Mine with Slash. Not to mention, they sounded offbeat and they all looked like they really didn't want to be there. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Phil Collins. For the Millennium Celebration in 2000, there was a really big Disney production, and it was pretty reminiscent of an amusement park mixed with an orchestra and a circus. But that's what happens when you book 5 big celebrities of different genres to perform the same halftime show. Admittedly, it was such a bizarre spectacle with Disney written all over it. Not only did the artist's performance come off as undeniably cheesy, it also wasn't executed well. Not to mention, with none of the songs really mashing well together, when Phil Collins came up to the stage to perform, he legit wore sweatpants and a hat, which kinda gave off the impression that he didn't want to be there, and he knew mixing 5 artists together was such a bad idea that he just opted to not even try. Which is not the point of the Super Bowl, as if you get invited to perform, you need to make a big impression, and that's just not what we got with anybody's performance, especially Phil's love theme from Tarzan. Number 7, The Who. The Who took over the halftime show in February of 2010. The pioneers and all-time heroes of stadium rock at the time had been around for 46 years since the band was founded. Unfortunately, the spectators and listeners at the Super Bowl in Miami that year quickly realized that the rock veterans Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey, unlike Stones and Paul McCartney, had long since left the musical league. And because of this, the sound was lousy and the music and vocals were not at least very well synchronized. They just didn't understand the high visibility, high stakes, and nature of the gig, and they just kept fumbling a medley of classics. Not to mention those suspicious crowds singing along audio cues that sounded as believable as a Seinfeld laugh track. Number 6, New Kids on the Block. While boy bands were all the rage in the 1990s, that doesn't mean that they were exactly perfect to perform at a Super Bowl halftime show. When New Kids on the Block hit the Super Bowl stage in 1991, this is where people started to state that they could put on a better show than half of the people who were asked to perform at the halftime show. But don't blame New Kids on the Block, who didn't really get to sing any of their perkier tunes, as they got stuck doing the sappiest hit of their one hit called One for the Children, which got shifted into this Disney kiddie choir. The performance definitely didn't pay off at the time as well as they thought it would, because everything going on in the world at the time, no one really wanted to hear It's a Small World After All. And it's not exactly what you would want to hear when you are right in the middle of a back and forth battle between the Bills and the Giants. Coming in number 5, we have Gina Carano. Gina Carano is a former MMA fighter turned Mandalorian star who angered some fans with a series of politically charged social media posts after the star made an anti-Semitic statement and paired them with American politics in 2021. She also went on to use a slew of hate towards the Jewish community before adding, "How is it any different from hating someone for their political views?" The actress later came under fire again when she decided to make fun of transgender people on Twitter by saying she preferred the pronouns beep, bop, boo. In the wake of her anti-Semitic comments, the hashtag #FiredGinaCarano began to trend on Twitter, which resulted in Disney to sever ties with her, and her management company, United Talent Agency, dropped her as a client as well. And where are you gonna go without your agency? Nowhere. Number 4, Chrissy Teigen. After ex-swimsuit model Chrissy Teigen was accused of bullying Courtney Stodden in the beginning of 2011 after Courtney was 16 and married 51-year-old Lost actor Doug Hutchinson, Courtney would claim that Chrissy wouldn't just tweet her things about her needing to take a dirt nap, but the model would also tell Courtney she wished she would just pass away in her DMs. Courtney would then spark fashion designer Michael Cotello and teen mom Vera Abraham to come out with their stories where they claimed Teigen bullied them as well. Teigen then quit her role as a narrator on the hit show Never Have I Ever, and she was then replaced by Gigi Hadid. It was then reported that her cookware line disappeared from Macy's and that Bloomingdale's had dropped her from their deal. Chrissy also had to back out of a planned cleaning products line that she was working on with Kris Jenner. Chrissy then tried to apologize to everyone including Courtney, but the apology just wasn't genuine, and it was more just an attempt she made to try to save her career. Number 3, Matt Damon. When Matt Damon infuriated the LGBTQ+ advocates when he told the Sunday Times of London in August of 2021 that one of his daughters had taken him to task months ago for using a homophobic slur in a joke, the 51-year-old actor then went on to defend the comments in a statement, later claiming that the Times interview led many to assume the worst, and then he went on to say that he never called anyone that word in his personal life, and it was just a conversation that he was having with his daughter, and it was not a personal awakening, before claiming he doesn't use any types of slurs towards anyone. While Matt went on to receive a huge amount of hate online, he hurt many fans in the process, and because of this, the actor hasn't really gotten many gigs in acting and directing. As the scandal did break, Matt was promoting his film Stillwater, which took in a disappointing $2 million at the box office, and The Last Duel also flopped as it earned just $30 million. Meaning, Matt won't be offered any directing gigs anytime soon because he's costing production companies an insane amount of money because his films aren't living up to what it's bringing in. Number 2, we have Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle was slammed for making jokes about the LGBTQ+ community in October of 2021. Netflix special The Closer. GLAAD then released a statement saying Dave Chappelle's brand has become synonymous with ridiculing trans people and other marginalized communities. Dave would then be booed and protested by some students when visiting his high school in Washington, D.C., and in February it would be announced that Dave would be producing 4 more comedy specials. And then he went on to shrug off all his backlash by saying, "Is this what's being cancelled?" Is like, I love it. He has since continued to perform and was nominated for a 2022 Grammy, but more and more people continue to refuse to work with the star, and I don't blame them. And coming in number 1 today, we have J.K. Rowling. Harry Potter author caused a storm with her social media post about the transgender community, starting in 2019 when she supported a British woman who was fired from her job after making transphobic tweets. 6 months later, J.K. then piled on with her own snarky tweet about menstruation. She then went on to pen an essay on her personal website explaining her position but not putting out any fires. In addition to ongoing backlash, fans and Harry Potter stars Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint have all taken the author to task, to the point JK even skipped the HBO reunion special for the 20th anniversary. Even with her cancellation, it seems like the author is just becoming richer as she continues to make deals and produce more movies in the franchise she created.
Number 10, MIA. It's pretty common knowledge that the primary viewers of the Super Bowl are composed of conservative America. Basically, the this means you don't really want to be a problem as a performer at the show. Well, MIA, the singer known for her songs like Paper Planes and Bad Girls, appeared alongside Nicki Minaj and Madonna, who was the headliner for the show. It was going pretty alright, despite Madonna's pretty lackluster dancing, until a problem arose when MIA decided she was gonna flash a big old middle finger to the whole of football-loving conservative America. Now, the behavior isn't that shocking for the artist, and honestly, you'd miss the moment if you blinked, but conservative America was left feeling completely flabbergasted and outraged, and so was the NFL. The league responded by filing a lawsuit suing the rapper for millions of dollars in damages and demanding a public apology. If anything, this probably actually boosted the rapper's image. Number 9. Janet Jackson. In 2004, Janet Jackson took to the Super Bowl stage with Justin Timberlake joining her about halfway through the performance to perform Rock Your Body. It was a decent performance with a big bold finish that saw Timberlake out of literally nowhere rip one of Jackson's bra cups off, showing off half of the singer's bare chest. Supposedly, it was meant to be that Timberlake tore the rubber top off to reveal a red lace bra, which clearly was not the case, and he just ripped it all off for the world to see. The NFL was on it pretty quick, cutting the cameras as fast as possible, but the damage was done. About 540,000 complaints came in from viewers of the show, as if the NFL didn't notice this mess up. Jackson apologized for what became known as a wardrobe malfunction, and apologies from Timberlake poured out, followed by an interview with Oprah from Jackson. Nipplegate caused conspiracies as people theorized the whole thing was purposely staged to happen. I kinda doubt it. Luckily, no one really blamed Timberlake, even though he totally did it, but it kind of capsized Jackson's career. Number 8. Justin Timberlake, but for real this time. In 2018, Timberlake decided that he would make a video projection hologram of Prince as an homage to the late artist, a part of his show, despite the fact that the guy had literally promised that he would not do that. Timberlake sang "I Would Die For You" along with the video that also used a part of Prince's music video for Purple Rain. Fans of Prince specifically were outraged as they said this disrespected the artist. In a 1998 Guitar World interview, Prince specifically spoke about his dislike of using holograms for this exact reason. If you're gonna honor a guy, the best way you could do it is by not doing the thing that he doesn't like, but you did, which was stupid. Number 7. Maroon 5. Following the controversy surrounding Colin Kaepernick taking the knee for the national anthem and subsequently not getting signed for any NFL team, many musical artists decided to sit out the Super Bowl halftime show in 2019 in support of the player who was 100% in the right for his choice. However, Maroon 5 decided to be completely tone deaf and decided to take the stage out of the 2019 Super Bowl halftime show. They got in deep water for this choice, with critics believing all major artists should have boycotted the halftime show to support Kaepernick and punish any company that silenced protests, which is the right of any American. In response to the controversy, the band decided to give $500,000 to Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America, which is nice, but doesn't really have anything to do with the issue that was at hand. It painted a bad picture of the band members and hung over their heads for a long time. Number 6. Elvis Presto. This may as well just be a guy shooting his career in the foot. Before the time of Michael Jackson's crazy successful halftime show and its subsequent focus on pop stars, the main acts of the halftime shows varied wildly from year to year. As an example, in 1989, the halftime show was centered around a magic trick performing Elvis impersonator who called himself Elvis Presto. Elvis Presto, with 4 backup singers, performed a card trick where the audience was asked to pick from 4 cards based on how loud their applause was. There was no applause. It was just the absolute most boring and horrible halftime show that I can only imagine Elvis Presto just wasn't heard from for a hot minute afterwards.
Number 5. Armie Hammer. So just when Armie Hammer was at the top of his career, no one would have thought his world would all come crumbling down after it was revealed that he was sending some pretty concerning messages to women. Since Armie has been the subject of intense scrutiny over the messages that claimed he had an outrageous fetish began spreading in January of 2021. It was clear that the star just wasn't in the right mind, we would all hope, because just days after the controversy had begun to unfold online, well, in the beginning, everyone thought the claims couldn't be true. But then when Armie stepped down from a role in Shotgun Wedding, we all started to realize that there actually could be some truth to the story. While the actor and his team continually denied the allegations that were being brought against him, it really makes you wonder what could be going through someone's mind that would make them tell potential partners that they wanted to eat them. Number 4. The Baby. The Baby is a Grammy-nominated artist who found himself being canceled after he made some outrageous remarks at Miami's Rolling Loud Festival back in 2021. While the star was on stage for his performance, out of nowhere, he began to call out members who are a part of the LGBTQ community. And here, he would continue to use crude language when he addressed them, all while he was spreading misinformation about medical issues. With artists such as Madonna, Questlove, and Elton John denouncing the Baby's remarks after his concert, the whole world started to shut the door on the rapper as his performances started to be canceled all over the world. While the Baby was trying to retract his comments just days later with an apology, he just caused so much pain and hurt to the point he won't be able to bounce back from this one anytime soon. Number 3. Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller was on their way to become a well-known Hollywood name. And while in the beginning we all praised them for being an activist who stood up for victims of gender-based violence in indigenous communities, by 2020, Ezra started to usher in a new kind of Ezra. And this Ezra showed us they were hiding their true colors from us for years. After Ezra was caught on a video getting into an altercation with a fan at an Iceland bar, it would soon be rumored that they were also leading a cult and making unwanted advances on younger people. While the star did come out to say they were sorry for their past behavior and anyone they may have upset with it, they continued to spiral out of control to the point it was clear the apology was fake and that there was something really concerning going on. While Ezra would later come out to say that their mental health was behind their bad behavior, I don't think any of us believe that. It's just really weird that DC Studios still is supporting The Flash and Ezra with it. As if it was any other film star, their career would have faded away from Hollywood so fast that it makes you wonder if they have something going on that's allowing them to stay in the spotlight, when it's clear that being in the spotlight is actually causing them more harm because it's causing them to spiral more out of control. Number 2, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan has had a pretty troubling past from substance abuse to mental breakdowns. This girl has single-handedly kept gossip sites alive, as at one point, all we ever saw was her name smeared across the headlines for everything she was doing. While the actress has been sent to 5 rehab facilities for a total of 250 days since January 2007, she has also had to appear in court 20 times before 4 judges who have found her in violation of her probation 4 times, and they have even sentenced her to 6 months in jail. While it is worth noting that she did spend less than 2 weeks behind bars in her 6 trips to the Los Angeles County Jail, Lindsay was confined to her home for at least 35 days each time they let her out early. While the star started to spiral out of control due to her outrageous partying, by 2014, the Mean Girls star would finally ruin her reputation in Hollywood, which would cause her career to come to a halt for a bit of time. While the star continued to party for years to come, lately it seems like she's back on track and she's doing well. She just signed a Netflix deal, and we haven't seen her do anything out of the ordinary, and it's great to see her back on track, and I can't wait to see what she does next. And coming in at number 1 today, we have James Corden. Back in October, James Corden would be put on blast by Keith McNally after James decided to cause chaos in his restaurant. On Instagram, Keith would even claim that James has been one of the most abusive customers he has ever had to face in his restaurant in the last 25 years. What started off as a date night soon turned into a disaster after James lost his mind over his wife's wrong order. After James complained about a number of issues that were wrong with the meal, instead of doing what a normal human being would do, he took things too far. And he began to scream at staff members, "You can't do your job." James then lost his mind even more and started yelling at the server like a crazy person when he said, "You can't do your job. You can't do your job. Maybe I should go back into the kitchen and cook the omelet myself." And the worst part is, this isn't the first time James has acted pretty odd in public, as he actually has a long list of bizarre things that he's done, which proves he's either completely bonkers or he just let fame get to his head, or, it could be both.
And number 10, we have Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy Teigen hasn't been able to bounce back
back from cancel culture after she was exposed for finding herself embroiled in cyberbullying. When it was exposed that Chrissy was sending inappropriate tweets to a 16-year-old girl, the world would become extremely disappointed in the star. Courtney Stodden, who is now 28, sat down in an interview with Daily Beast to address the bullying subject. She would say that the whole situation really affected her and it was really damaging to have someone like Chrissy Teigen bullying young children. Chrissy would then later come out to say that she was mortified and sad at who she used to be and that she was an insecure, attention-seeking troll. However, no matter what the issue is, it's never okay to bully someone, especially a child. And number 9, we have Matt Damon. Actor Matt Damon found himself in a bit of hot water from time to time over the last couple of years. However, his last incident would result in the star being cancelled for good. When Matt came in hot to use the F slur to refer to the LGBT community, it didn't sit well with any of us. However, Matt would then later come out to say that thanks to his daughter, he's been inspired to change. Now, no one's really sure if he's doing it for himself or if it's just a cry for a resolution so he can get his career back. However, what he said was extremely damaging and we won't see him bounce back from this anytime soon. Are you liking this video so far? If so, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. At number 8, we have Ellen. For years, Ellen has been one of the most well-known figures on television thanks to her namesake show. However, in 2020, things would take a dark turn as the comedian's career and vicious workplace allegations started to come to light. The public would be furious after they learned that the off-camera Ellen was fake and that she treated her employees like peasants and how she embarrassed her guests just to get views. Shortly after these scandals started to hit the tabloids, Ellen's show would end and it would leave fans divided because people still had a lot of mixed feelings about Ellen and if she should actually be cancelled. So what do you think? Should Ellen be cancelled? And let me know in the comments below. At number 7, Morgan Wallen. Country singer Morgan Wallen saw his music pulled from country music stations, music streaming playlists, and was dropped by his booking agency, had his recording contract temporarily suspended, and was even banned from the award shows after a video of Morgan surfaced and it showed him uttering racial slurs outside of his Nashville home in 2021. His outbursts just coming on the heels of the BLM protest, the penalties held against the star were definitely justifiable. Morgan's actions were disrespectful and definitely disappointing. Morgan has never come out with an apology and I wish the star would have done better than this. The country community also really missed an opportunity to learn about the history and move towards anti-racism and allyship. At number 6, we have James Charles. James Charles was the first male spokesperson for CoverGirl. However, as this star seemed to enter the public eye, his inappropriate behavior would go viral and tarnish James's legacy. The backlash James would face would become the perfect example when it comes to explaining this generation's idea of canceling culture. James has definitely proved to society he is a danger to society, and after a handful of allegations came forward about the star, many famous celebrities in social media such as Kylie Jenner, Miley Cyrus, and Katy Perry would unfollow James online. Since James has posted numerous apology videos to his channel, however, they've been so heavily criticized that we won't see the star bounce back anytime soon. At number 5, Sharon Osbourne. When Piers Morgan voiced his disbelief in what Meghan Markle had to say about her mental health to Oprah, he would face the wrath of thousands of fans. When Sharon Osbourne would tweet her support for her longtime friend, this would cause an confrontation with the talk co-host Cheryl Underwood, who would then ask Osbourne on air if she was a racist. Shortly after, the two would engage in this huge altercation, and the conflict would start an investigation by CBS, which would force Sharon to apologize. Sharon, in writing, would then say, "To anyone of color that I offended, or to anyone that feels confused or let down by what I said, I'm truly sorry," she wrote in a statement. "I panicked, felt blindsided, got defensive, and allowed my fear and horror of being accused of being a racist take over." After her statement in support for Piers Morgan continued, she would face further claims by her colleagues' remarks, which some she would go on to admit to and some she would deny. Osbourne would then join her friend Piers on Talk TV, where the presenters hold nothing back and say what they feel and not following one party at all. At number 4, James Charles. after Charli D'Amelio uploaded a YouTube video that many people considered offensive, as it showed her and her sister Dixie spitting out food in front of a personal chef. Many users would deem it inappropriate. James Charles, who was also at the dinner, wouldn't be called out for any inappropriate behavior, surprisingly, like Charli and Dixie. However, that didn't stop him from speaking his mind about cancel culture and the D'Amelios dropping followers. James would go on to say the Charli situation is not sitting right with me right now. 100 million followers in 1 year and y'all expect her to know how to be a perfect role model? Backlash because she's a picky eater, and made a joke about milestones. 30-plus-year-olds dragging someone half their age. Feels familiar. However, I think a lot of people weren't upset about the fact that the girls didn't like the food, but the fact that they were beginning to spit up the food in front of the chef and making hurtful comments about it. The fact James tried to support this toxic behavior is just a little outrageous, because even with age you can't justify someone's poor table manners, because we were all taught better to react during these situations at a young age. And number 3, Boosie. After the baby made some homophobic remarks during his set at the 2021 Rolling Loud Festival in Miami, Boosie would take to his Instagram Live to rant about the displeasure of people canceling the baby over his remarks. Shortly after the baby's performance, even Lil Nas would make a joke that him and Jack Harlow would be wearing nothing during the VMA's performance while performing Industry Baby for charity, and this also really didn't sit well with Boosie, as he would claim no one should be picking sides over the baby saying some wild things. Boosie definitely wasn't done with his rant, and he would continue on in another video about his outrage over Lil Nas's announcement, with several artists, including thousands of fans, speaking out against the baby's extremely hurtful remarks that were made. All Boosie did was add more fuel and stigma to the discrimination that surrounds the LGBTQ community. The mistruths that were used by the baby and supported by Boosie had no place in society, and the fact that the musicians used their voice to spread so much hate towards the most marginalized people in our community is just saddening. Boosie's out here saying people shouldn't be taking sides, yet he took sides to spread hate instead of using his voice for good. At number 2, Bo Derek. Now, the Kardashian family has been slammed for blackfishing for years, especially when it comes to their braids. When Kim Kardashian West was accused of cultural appropriation after crediting actress Bo Derek as the inspiration behind her box braids, she would even go on to credit the braids as Bo Derek braids. Now, Bo Derek would come to the star's defense. So Bo Derek, who is now 61, wore her hair like this while she was in the 1979 film 10, which featured the star running down a beach. Bo Derek would take to her Twitter account to say, "Hey, it's just a hairstyle that I worked on in the movie 10. Kim Kardashian calls it Bo Derek braids because she copied my pattern of braids. I copied it from Anne Margaret's backup singer from her Las Vegas show. And we all copy Queen Nefertari. I hope Her Royal Highness is flattered." While Derek has referred to the Egyptian queen, the two came under fire for not recognizing the styles and the history and origins and framing the looks as something new or edgy. Many people have been forced to cut their braids out to play sports or even to attend class, so both celebrities not understanding the hurt braids can cause was the concept of culture vulturing, and it was pretty disappointing to see. And at number 1 today, we have Nikita Dragun. When the drama between James Charles and Tati Westbrook erupted online, things would become more complicated after Tati would reveal James was manipulating men that were still emerging into adulthood. Tati would also reveal that James was spreading lies about her and betraying her after she spent years helping him with his brand. After Nikita Dragun showed the screenshots that Sugar Bear agreed to give Charles influencer tickets if he did a promotion, she would force herself into a situation that definitely didn't look good on her image. Especially when James told Tati he was being swarmed by crazy fans to even get those tickets. Over the years, James has become a huge controversial figure, and Nikita has consistently defended the star and has stayed by his side in the wake of all his bad behavior. With James manipulating younger men, Nikita couldn't even understand the gravity of those topics, and she's continued to support James even when more of the situation became to come into light. Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Will Smith. The whole world has been talking about the infamous slap that happened at the 2023 Oscars, to the point it's just old and everyone needs to stop talking about it. However, with a handful of celebrities such as Jim Carrey, Amy Schumer, Zoe Kravitz, and many more speaking out about Will's actions, it has caused Hollywood to turn their backs on this this brilliant actor. And it would start the cancellation process of Will Smith. Sony would then announce that they would have to put Bad Boys 4 on hold, and Netflix would also backburn Fast and Loose. CAA then started to discuss if they should drop Will as a client. Smith then canceled himself by quitting the Academy, and the Academy then went on to ban him from attending the ceremony for the next 10 years. And we still don't know what this means for the star within this period of time, and we're just going to have to wait and see. Number 9, James Franco. Back in 2014, James would be exposed for going on Instagram and asking a girl when he was outside a theater in New York if she was 18. She then told the actor she was actually 17. He then went on to ask her the name of the hotel she was staying at and if he should get a room in the same hotel as well. Later in an interview on ABC Live with Kelly and Michael, the actor would then explain the encounter by saying, "I used bad judgment and I learned my lesson." Then in 2018, 4 female students from his Studio 4 acting school in North Hollywood told Los Angeles Times that James had compromised his position as a teacher to make unwanted moves and exploit them. With 2 of those girls going on to sue James, the actor would then have to fork out $2.23 million after he settled the case. Seth Rogen, his longtime collaborator in PAL, also went on to drop James, and he would later tell the Times at London that the scandal changed his relationship and that he had no plans to work with Franco in the future, which became the end of the pair's 20-year partnership. James then made an appearance on the Jess Cagle podcast in 2021, where he admitted that he slept with his acting prodigies and that it was wrong, before claiming he had struggled with addiction and that being dismissed by Seth was actually a really hurtful experience for him to go through. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming back to our list, in the number 8 spot, we have Kanye West. It's hard to know where to start with Kanye West's long list of controversies, as not only has the star been accused of cyberbullying his ex-wife Kim Kardashian and her old partner Pete Davidson, but he's also made some anti-Semitic statements that has everyone wondering if the star is really doing this as a cry for help. Kanye's obsession with trying to control and manipulate the situation has caused his career to plummet, and he lost out on huge business deals not only with Gap and Adidas, but also with Balenciaga. On top of that, he was even dropped by his agent. Now, it's unclear with how long the rapper will be canceled for, but one thing is for sure is that even when we should be keeping him out of the spotlight, outlets just keep scheduling interviews and pushing him to his limits, to the point his unhinged moments have become more unhinged, and every time it's like we see something we've never seen before. Number 7, Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer has been pinned by some disturbing allegations from his former flame, Effie Angel Nova, when she accused him of making unwanted advances and fantasizing about cannibalism. And then another ex would claim that Armie carved an A into her pelvis, and that he even asked her to have a rib removed surgically so he could eat it. And if things couldn't get any worse, an app developer who dated Armie for 5 months in 2020 also made the same claims, and on top of that, she said the actor liked the idea of having skin in his teeth. Now, Armie's lawyers have gone on to deny all the allegations by saying any interactions with any of his partners were completely consensual and that they were fully discussed, agreed upon, and it was a mutual participation. After the allegations were released, the divorced dad would go on to be dropped out of the film Shotgun Wedding, the Paramount Plus series The Offer, and the Broadway show The Minutes. In February 2022, a close friend to the actor would then tell the Post that his acting career should be coming back any day now, but that still hasn't happened and it probably won't. Number 6, DaBaby. When DaBaby was caught making homophobic remarks at a music festival in Miami back in 2021, he would end his career after he made some comments that dissed the LGBTQ+ community. Then later he went to try to clarify his views, and he only dug his hole even deeper to crawl out of after he doubled down on his claims. So DaBaby then got ripped apart by the LGBTQ+ community, and even celebrities like Madonna, Elton John, and Dua Lipa called him out for his insensitive comments. The fashion brand Boo-Hoo Man even bolted on a deal they had with him. He would then find himself being booted from the 2022 Lollapalooza tour, and his concert in Atlanta was called off amid a flurry of cancellations for his concerts, including a radio station putting his music into a timeout. DaBaby then went on to embrace his plummeting stock and declared himself cancelled in a new version of his hit Whole Lotta Money, where he cries and laughs off his current situation. Number 5, Meg Ryan. At one point, Meg Ryan served up some of America's best and most memorable romantic comedies comedies. And then one day she just seemed to just disappear from the spotlight. It would all come after her marriage started to crumble, and then the headlines started to smear her name as they claimed she cheated on her husband while she was on set of Proof of Life. After the star cheated on her husband to get with Russell Crowe, she would find it really hard going forward to find work. Now, the actor wouldn't exactly disappear, but she has preferred to keep a low profile these days. And when she does work on set, most of her work is actually behind the camera as a producer and a director, which is honestly disappointing as her face deserves to be seen in front of the screen. Number 4, Drake Bell. Drake Bell used to be a major heartthrob in the 90s, but after he was accused of endangerment charges towards a younger person after a female victim claimed that she met him online and that he made unwanted advances towards her, he would then plead guilty, and every door in Hollywood would start to close the door on him. Eventually, the star would take to Instagram to address his recklessness and irresponsible text when he issued an apology to his fans, but then he also went on to claim that he wasn't telling us the claims were false, but that the state of Ohio actually proved that the claims were false. And if the claims were true, he wouldn't be at home with his wife and son. But then later, even Josh Peck would call out Drake Bell, and he would speak about their longtime feud that started when Drake called out the star for not being invited to his wedding. But pretty much, Drake then went on to say some hurtful things, and Josh even asked the star to apologize to his wife. Today, Drake has tried everything to stay away from the spotlight, but it just seems his name every now and then keeps getting smeared across the headlines. Number 3, Felicity Huffman. After the college admission scandal rocked the world, largely because big-name celebrities were embroiled in the scheme, one of the most notable people caught in the falsifying documents was Felicity Huffman. And since she has avoided making public appearances, compared to other celebrities caught in the scandal, Felicity's legal woes seem to be far less severe because she took the responsibility for her actions in a guilty plea where she expressed genuine remorse. She then went on to serve 11 days of her 14-day jail sentence and paid a $30,000 fine and was required to work 250 hours of community service for paying $15,000 to save her daughter's SAT scores. After gaining sympathy from the public instead of rushing back to rebuild her Hollywood career, she has since been focused on helping others. Number 2, Lori Loughlin. Following the college admission scheme, Lori would find her name being embroiled within the mess, and with it, she would be ousted by Hallmark's parent company, Crown Media, after she was charged with conspiracy to commit mail fraud in connection with the scheme. When Lori appeared in court and was released on a $1 million bail, it would then be revealed that she and her husband agreed to pay $500,000 to guarantee that 2 of their daughters got into the University of Southern California as members of the road team, even though neither of them were athletes. The scandal would then impact Lori's career as Crown Media would announce it was cutting ties with the Full House star. Now, Lori was able to reprise her role in a Hallmark Christmas spinoff just after, but other than that, no one's been throwing roles her way, and it's probably for a good reason, as you can't cheat your way through life just because you have money. And coming in number 1 today, we have Thomas Gibson. In August of 2016, Thomas Gibson would be involved in an on-set altercation with Virgil Williams, a writer and producer of the show Criminal Minds. While Thomas was directing an episode of the show, he apparently kicked Williams and was initially suspended for 2 episodes. Thomas would then release his own statement by saying, "There were creative differences on set and a disagreement. I regret that occurred. We all want to work together as a team to make the best show possible. We always have and always will." Later that week, ABC Studios and CBS would then announce that Thomas had been ultimately fired, and it would then be stated that this wasn't his first altercation on the set, as he was even forced to attend anger management classes in the past. When the studio realized it wasn't helping, they ultimately made the decision so they could keep everyone on set safe, because he just couldn't keep his hands to himself. So starting off our list today at number 10, we have Kanye West. So back in 2022, the world saw Kanye West lose everything in the matter of seconds after he made some appalling anti-Semitic tirades that cost him his entire massive fortune. Almost everyone from his lawyers to agents and mouth-watering endorsement partners have dropped Kanye, and with his universal cancellation, it has caused the rapper's net worth to dip from $2 billion to $400 million. It all began at a Paris fashion show when the rapper thought it would be a good idea to wear a WLM t-shirt, which snowballed into anti-Semitism claims on mainstream and social media. The final straw was when Kanye completely lost it and started to throw some hateful statements at the Jewish community. The striking anti-Semitic comments forced even some of Kanye's biggest fans to back off and back the cancellation campaign of the rapper, but seriously, at the end of the day, Kanye really needed someone to take his phone away and keep him away from the spotlight, and that's where his team failed him. Number 9. Wendy Williams. It's clear that there's a lot going on with Wendy Williams right now, as the media personality is reportedly feeling broken. While it has been reported that the star is struggling with addiction that led to her being hospitalized, in the weeks leading up to her health scares, an inside source would then reveal to The Sun that the star was pretty much drinking every day while she was even filming her show. While the star seems like she was doing okay for a bit, The Sun would then soon publish another report that would reveal that Wendy was still not over the betrayal of her ex-husband Kevin Hunter, and these feelings have contributed to her downward spiral. When Wendy found out her ex-husband was having a baby with his mistress, she immediately filed for divorce despite the two being married for 20 years. This is when Wendy also started to open up about her addiction, which stemmed from the betrayal to her viewers on the show. At this time, she would also confess to living in a sober house. But even after all of her hard work to get back on track, seems like she might be back at square one, as she has been caught looking pretty disheveled in the streets lately, and it looks pretty concerning, as it's clear that the star isn't exactly in the right headspace. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It would really help us out. Now, hopping back to our list, at the number 8 spot, we have Miley Cyrus. So with Miley Cyrus starting off her career at the age 11 as a child artist with the hit Disney Channel series Hannah Montana, she was the envy of many children who wanted to work in Hollywood. While the show was catered to younger audiences, of course, it's Disney, Miley suddenly shifted in the public eye, and this became a huge problem for Walt Disney Studios. When her song Can't Be Tamed was released in 2010, her image was drastically overhauled with her spicy music video. And because of this video, it was a little risky. It did raised some problems for Disney, as it featured their Hannah Montana star twisting around male and female dancers. While many would claim Miley was losing her mind as she was trying to escape the grasp of Disney to be free, it wouldn't be until Miley decided to pose topless with her back exposed for a Vanity Fair photo shoot that would have Disney scrambling to their feet when they realized Miley's squeaky clean image was threatened overnight. Just a day after the photo shoot, Disney then decided to cancel all connections they had with Miley, meaning her show and any music that played on the Disney radio channel. While the star continued to go on to ruin the good girl image Disney forced her to be, we all saw everything from tongues, risky outfits, twerking, and everything in between. But honestly, while Disney may have halted the new stages of Miley, she really came out here to prove to young women all over the world that we don't have to live up to society's pressures, and that was honestly pretty inspiring to see. Number 7. Britney Spears. Britney Spears has had a rough life. While the world just thought the star was losing her mind for no reason, when we all learned about her conservatorship, it all made us realize that every time the star acted out, she was really doing this because she was begging the world to notice that something was up and that she wasn't doing okay. While Britney's family forced the star to work endlessly so they could live off of her giant fortune, they enjoyed everything from spa days to champagne, and Britney would find herself being barred from these sorts of activities. It was so bad that the star couldn't even enjoy a cup of coffee. Now, eventually, Britney would tell the world what was truly going on with her and why her mental health was deteriorating so fast. And a lot of her actions then started to make a lot of sense. So back in the day when the world was making fun of the star and claimed that she was simply just off her rocker because she shaved her head or played dress up with her food at a restaurant table, while these gestures did seem a bit odd, it was Britney's way of showing us that her family was controlling her day-to-day life and she really needed us to help save her. Number 6. Will Smith. Just before the infamous Oscar slap, it said that Will Smith was having a terrifying vision that showed him losing all of his money. And while the star was also being humiliated by his wife again and again, he really didn't have anywhere to turn to. So it just kept getting bottled up inside, so eventually that pain and anger anger was so bottled up inside him that it was only a matter of minutes before the star would actually lose it, and unfortunately that moment came just before he won an Oscar. While Chris Rock probably shouldn't have made such a hurtful joke to begin with, Will should have known better than to react with violence. With the slap sending Will into this professional life spiral, no one would have thought what was going to happen next. With Will being cancelled, the Academy would then go on to ban him for the next 10 years from the award shows, and he also made the decision to quit the Academy altogether. And if it couldn't get any worse, Jada then started to make headlines saying that she never wanted to be with Will and that it was her mother forced her to do it. At the end of the day, Will's mental health was just deteriorating so fast that even he had to check himself into a hospital, focus on repairing his mental health. Now, it's clear that the actor won't stay canceled forever, but I do wish his recovery well, and I do hope things turn around fast for him because he definitely didn't deserve any of this.
At number 5, we have Conrad Hilton. For decades, the Hilton name has been a big symbol of fame and fortune, and we just can't seem to scrub them away. Due to the family's successful chain of hotels, they have become the definition of a high society with a large amount of wealth. However, Paris Hilton's younger brother Conrad has been stirring up some serious trouble for himself. Conrad has a lengthy history of breaking the law, and his vain attitude and elite mentality has had us all believing that even with money, this man still can't afford to buy himself some class. The heir once even got arrested for stealing a car and violating a restraining order against his ex-girlfriend by breaking into her home. To make matters worse, Conrad has even been caught in videos spewing vile words of self-righteousness to the police. Even though he might be worth a lot of money, this guy's egocentric behavior is downright embarrassing, and there's a reason why he's not really in the spotlight any longer. At number 4, we have Frankie Grande. Now, if you're a fan of Ariana Grande, then you know she has an older brother named Frankie Grande. Now, Frankie got his big break in television when he was cast on season 16 of Big Brother back in 2014. However, his over-the-top antics and drama-inducing behavior made him a polarizing player to viewers. One reason the star was so hated was because of his own obsession with himself. During the season, Frankie would drop his sister's name every chance he got and continue to toot his own horn on a daily basis, and it drove us all nuts. While the star never let us miss the opportunity to remind us about how famous he was starting to be, none of us could get over the fact that he chose to spew hate every chance he got. Needless to say, after he would close the back door on Zach, he wouldn't go on to win the show, and then he would disappear from our minds completely as we chose to forget about this wild child. At number 3, we have Bow Wow. Bow Wow has been an entertainer since he was a kid, and he skyrocketed to fame as a young talented rapper. At the age of 14, he was so famous that he bragged about everything from money, cars, designer. He even gave us a glimpse of his lavish lifestyle in an episode of MTV Cribs. Even today, it seems that Bow Wow isn't slowing down over his over-the-top lifestyle. After getting caught up in a lie about traveling on a private jet, Bow Wow would lose respect from his fans after a video was posted of him using disrespectful comments towards his ex-girlfriend Sierra. Now, the viral video would show the rapper calling his girlfriend an itch, while claiming he had her first, and not only did he call her out by name, but he also used it in such a distasteful way. One fan would even come out to say, LMFAO, he is petty and so irrelevant. That song came out when I was in elementary school. Come on, it's clear Bow Wow has tried everything to stay relevant, and his big ego is far too big for him to even admit at this point that he's wrong. At number 2, we have J.K. Rowling. If you're looking to take a masterclass on how to destroy your reputation very quick, then all you really have to do is follow J.K. Rowling. With her recent outrageous behavior, it's made all of us question why we really supported her career and books. With the number of controversial and defensive tweets posted to her Twitter account, and a lengthy weird article on her website where she confirmed she was suffering to understand the LGBT community completely, has had many fans reacting with dismay. As she's went on to promote harmful fundamentalism, she's endangered the LGBT community, and her view of feminism isn't sitting right with any of us. So while we all decided to put her books down for good, the star has continued to try to save her reputation, but I don't think anything at this point can help her bounce back. At number 1 today, we have Amber Heard. A decade ago, we all loved Amber Heard. However, today, we're all divided when it comes to supporting her. While Amber was on top of her career, everything looked fine, and even after she decided to end her relationship with Johnny Depp. However, the two couldn't leave everything behind, and they would ignite an ongoing feud, which would lead to a handful of court trials that were covered by the media on a daily basis. Eventually, Johnny would go on to sue Amber $50 million in a defamation lawsuit after she wrote about him to the Washington Post in 2018. While Amber would go on to thrive from her drama, her world would soon come crashing down after Johnny would prove to courts that he was a good guy and that he didn't deserve all the hate and ended partnerships that he lost during the start of their feud. Amber's lies would soon be exposed in the courts, and her reputation took a big hit, which she definitely won't be bouncing back from anytime soon. Starting in at number 10, we have Antonio Brown. Former NFL wide receiver Antonio Brown would find himself under fire from fans and other celebrities after he chose to stand by Kanye West after Kanye made some anti-Semitic comments. Antonio, who played in the NFL back in 2021, said he will still remain in his role as president for Donda Sports, which is Kanye's sport agency. With Antonio remaining true to its mission of Donda, he's also channeled his buddy's controversial campaign by saying and supporting Kanye's WLM movement. Kanye has had a lot of criticism over his WLM shirt that he wore during his Yeezy fashion show. Despite the negative reactions, he has still gone on to make headlines for anti-Semitic comments. Overall, the controversy, both Antonio and Kanye have started to become really close friends, and they've even started to work on some music with each other. It also seems like Kanye isn't the only one doing some pretty odd things lately, as Brown has had his own share of controversy when a video that was released back in October showed himself exposing himself to a woman in Dubai. With Antonio calling Kanye's comments reactionary and selective outrage, he will continue to bring his new ideas, experiences in design to our world while remaining in support of the humanity Kanye is bringing into the world. Number 9, Kim Kardashian. While we all notice the prospect of an epic, especially revolting fashion industry scandal unfolding, the response of some of the world's biggest celebrities caused many of us to be dumbfounded for continuing to support Cedric Charbit and the brand he represents as the CEO for Balenciaga. Just days before America's Thanksgiving holiday, the fashion house of Balenciaga would trigger some major backlash for its 2022 holiday advertising campaign, which toyed with some of the most deprived evils known to man, with the campaign exploiting children when the photos emerged of little girls holding on to handbags that were shaped like teddy bears, wearing some pretty outrageous gear, and a childlike drawing of a devil. We were all left feeling sick. At the end of the controversy, Balenciaga would try to claim that their plush bear bag should have never featured children in its campaign, and that they had no idea that the advertisement contained these images because they never approved the images. However, knowing that all companies have the final say to anything hitting the media, we all knew this was one giant lie made for the company to try to save their reputation. Kim Kardashian still choosing to stand by Balenciaga, a brand she seems to get all of her leotarded gloved outfits from. After days of being silent, she would say, "I appreciate Balenciaga's removal of the campaign and apology. In speaking with them, I believe they understand the seriousness of the issue and will take necessary measures for this to never happen again." While Kim has decided that she will be re-evaluating her relationship with the brand, many of us have been disgusted at the fact that Kim is being a coward for not immediately cutting ties off with the brand, and we're honestly all disappointed that she is a grown-up with her own children who should be protecting other children, but instead she's failing to protect the most innocent and vulnerable by supporting a brand that is always out here showing huge levels of controversy consistently. Hey Peaches, are you enjoying this video so far? If so, don't forget to give this a video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming in at number 8, Diddy. When Diddy decided to hop on the newest train in pop culture that revolved around cancel culture, many fans were pretty disappointed in his decision. When Diddy went on to say, "As a music family, none of us are saints, none of us are out here without things that happen to them in life." When the 2022 Billboard Music Awards came around, Diddy squarely stood behind Org's decision to invite Travis Scott and Morgan Wallen to perform. While explaining that one of the things he wants to do is cancel the uncancel, as the trend needs to be stopped, he would also go on to say that Travis went through a tragedy and Morgan hurled the N-word while talking to his boy. People make mistakes. Now we're moving forward on with love and respect for everybody that was hurt or affected. It's time to forgive. However, some actions are just unforgivable. unforgivable. As Morgan had been cancelled from 7 award shows last year, after the incident rose, his music sales would actually rise during the period. As for Travis Scott, on the other hand, he pretty much was sidelined for months after the Astroworld tragedy, having 100,000 people present and asking them to search the stage and ignoring an ambulance in the crowd was just disappointing to see, and the fact that he is out here supporting it is just heartbreaking. Number 7, Bella Thorne. So last year when Armie Hammer's fantasies were exposed and some unverified screenshots would show Armie making some pretty serious claims, when it came to his fantasies, although the topic was trending online, many celebrities choose to remain silent about the situation except for actor Bella Thorne, who took to her Instagram to defend. She would say, "I honestly can't believe this. People are crazy to fake this kind of stuff. Poor guy and his kids, like, leave his family alone. No way, he's a freak. Also, there's a million fake screenshots going around." People would certainly begin to criticize Bella's support by saying Bella Thorne is trash. How do some people still not see this? And Armie probably wasn't thinking about the good of his children when he told these girls about his fantasies, with Bella believing that she had more insight and wisdom when it came around to how Armie Hammer used his power to push boundaries with other women. The fact that she can sit here and claim that she's an ally to women and survivors, but doesn't let women have the chance to share their stories before claiming it as fake DMs, caused a lot of people to tell the star that no one actually asked for her opinion. Coming in at number 6, we have Bill Gates. When Bill Gates admitted that he was fundraising meetings that were held with late billionaire GE, he would discuss that the role that his relationship had with Jeffrey played a huge part in his divorce with Melinda Gates. When Bill sat down with Sunday Times, he would say that he didn't realize that by having those meetings, it would be seen as giving Jeffrey credibility. You're almost saying I forgive that type of behavior, or something so clearly that the way it's seen that I made a huge mistake not understanding that. With Melinda speaking publicly about her separation from Bill, she would tell CBS that many things ultimately contributed to her decision to end the pair's marriage. She would then reveal a bunch of secrets that included that there were whispers for years about Gates' extramarital relationships for people who work for him, and that his behavior was known as an open secret. Bill has always been scheduling off-site meetings that weren't on his calendar with Jeffrey, having multiple employees of Bill and Melinda's foundation visit his mansion and speak to the foundation about a proposed dollar charitable fund after he served jail time. At number 5, we have DaBaby. So during the Rolling Loud event in Miami back in 2021, DaBaby would dominate headlines for the event days after, and not for good reasons. In the clips that were live streamed of his performance, DaBaby could be seen and heard saying some pretty inappropriate remarks towards the LGBT community, and he would spread a lot of misinformation. To make matters worse, after his performance, DaBaby would take to his Instagram story where he would double down on his comments and refer to himself as the best live performer around. Eventually, DaBaby would apologize for some of his comments by saying, "What I said was insensitive, even though I had no intentions of offending anybody, so my apologies." However, his apology wouldn't be enough, and soon his concerts and appearances at events such as Lollapalooza would be dropped and his music would be removed from music stations. At number 4, we have Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X was cancelled after releasing a Nike shoe that definitely crossed boundaries when it comes to any religious community. After major backlash against the shoe, Nike would block Lil Nas X from selling the product and would say his version of the Nike Air Max 97s was unauthorized. Nas teamed up with MSCHF, a New York-based art collective, to collaborate on the controversial shoes. Nike was so upset with the shoe that they would come out to say that, "We don't have any further details to share pending the legal matters. However, we can tell you we do not have a relationship with Lil Nas X or MSCHF. Lil Nas would then later come out to say that he's no longer able to sell his shoes because of crying nerds on the internet. Many would then call for Lil Nas X to be cancelled over his use of unholy images on the shoe and his music videos. At number 3, Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan got cancelled in a heated debate over Meghan Markle. Now, Piers has never been shy to show his dislike towards Meghan. However, during a 2-hour trash-a-thon of the royal family, he took things way too far. Right after the show, Piers would sit down with Good Morning America, where the co-host would tell Piers that he was always quick to jump at Megan for the fact that they previously had a rapport with her and she cut him off. She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to. Has she said anything about you since she's cut you off? I don't think she has, but you continue to trash her. Piers then stormed off the stage in a pathetic manner. Ultimately, fans did decide to stand by Megan, and since Piers hasn't really been doing anything much in the industry. At number 2, we have Justin Timberlake. Following the release of the Hulu documentary Framing Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake would find himself cancelled after selling stories to magazines for front cover spreads of Britney Spears and for exposing Janet Jackson during her 2004 Super Bowl halftime show. Many fans would be appalled that Justin would rise to fame by shrugging his shoulders while the whole world criticized these two talented ladies. Justin would then later come out to apologize to his former girlfriend and Janet by saying, "I'm deeply sorry for all the times in my life that my actions contributed to the problem, where I spoke out of turn or did not speak up for what was right." Justin definitely failed these two women, and fans were deeply disturbed by his actions. So I think more than an apology was definitely due in this situation. And at number 1 today, we have J.K. Rowling. We all used to love and support J.K. Rowling, especially because she created a world that we all wanted to disappear to in her Harry Potter books. I think we all sat down at one point waiting for our Hogwarts letters to come flying into our hands so we could leave the Muggle world behind. However, after J.K. Rowling made some pretty insensitive comments while expressing her views on gender and her support of feminists who take offense on the idea that being a man or woman is a state of mind, and her many transphobic comments, J.K. Rowling would find herself cancelled and many fans would be left feeling disappointed and upset with the writer's actions. Regardless of who supports her still or who rejects her, she repeatedly dug her heels in, and I can't support a woman who spews so much hate on the internet. Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Kanye West. After causing quite a stir in Hollywood, Kanye then went on to disappear, and everyone's been wondering where he could have taken off to. Billboard would then later publish an article that would state Kanye's former lawyers even spent months trying to track the star down, and it wasn't an easy process as Kanye had changed his phone number in the hopes of staying hidden. After being tracked down by his attorneys, they then went on to drop Kanye as a client. Just a few weeks after, Kanye would then be caught out in the public as he was spotted with a mystery woman. But the star has tried to remain out of the spotlight as much as he can. The public has since been led to assume that the real reason Kanye has gone into hiding is because of his financial woes, and he's also been running from a lawsuit that his ex-business managers have filed. Either way, it's probably best that he stays out of the spotlight at this time. Number 9, Armie Hammer. After Armie Hammer fell from grace, the former actor would disappear from the spotlight after facing some serious allegations from his former ex-girlfriends, claiming that he had these cannibalism fetishes. And there was even some accusations that Armie made unwanted gestures towards the woman. The first series of allegations were launched against the star in 2021, but until the release of the 2022 Discovery true crime docu-series House of Hammer that was released, the matters behind the accusations remained relatively quiet as the actor retreated from the spotlight following the allegations. Armie then tried to keep a low profile, and after going to rehab, it was later said that the actor was residing in the Cayman Islands alongside his estranged wife, Elizabeth Chambers, and their 2 young children. At the same time, it would also be rumored that the actor was working at a hotel on the island after he was cut off from his family's fortune. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. From starring in many TV shows and movies to their fashion business, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen could be seen everywhere in the late 90s all the way to the early 2000s, but somewhere along the way, the twins just slowly started to disappear from the spotlight, and no one has heard a thing from the famous duo in years. Then out of nowhere in 2014, they would announce that they were retiring from acting, and they eventually launched 2 fashion lines called The Row and Elizabeth and James, which they still even own today, even following the controversies that followed the line. As in 2015, several of The Row's former interns took the company to court asking for payment for work they did on Mary-Kate and Ashley's fashion label. According to the lawsuit, The Row's interns were forced to work up to 50-hour weeks doing the same work as some of the full-time employees of their fashion line. Yet the lawsuit lead plaintiff then claimed the interns were also treated very poorly by the Olsen's company. Even with the lawsuit, there still isn't much buzz about the brand these days compared to when they first launched the companies, and that's probably because the clothes just aren't that nice and you pay $5,000 just to wear a sheet when you can go to Walmart and buy that sheet for $5. Number 7. Cameron Diaz. Former Hollywood it girl Cameron Diaz was on the road to have a very successful career, but then out of nowhere she slowly started to disappear from the entertainment industry, and it would slowly start to happen after fans started to claim that she was actually pretty rude to interact with. While Cameron has claimed that she left Hollywood on her own terms by telling In Style in 2019, "I've given more than half of my life to the public. I feel like that's okay for me to take this time for myself." Her statement would come just after Hollywood pretty much closed their doors on her. While the star has since been enjoying her time away from the spotlight, in 2020 she did announce the birth of her daughter, and she's been focusing her free time on being an amazing mother. Number 6. Amanda Bynes. I honestly miss seeing Amanda Bynes on the big screen because as a child, I really just couldn't wait to get home to watch the Amanda Bynes Show or any of the movies she starred in like She's a Man, Sydney White, and Hairspray. Amanda was seriously one of the most talented child stars and one of Nickelodeon's best success stories, who managed to turn that into a thriving movie career. But then out of nowhere she started to struggle around 2012 after the star was charged with driving under the influence and then charged with 2 hit and runs. She would then spend 3 years under probation. Just when we thought the star was done spiraling out of control, her troubles with the law continued long afterwards, and it eventually became clear that she was suffering from some type of underlying issues like Britney Spears endured when she ended up under a conservatorship. Today it seems like Amanda is happy and back on track as she's now studying to be a nail tech, and shortly we should see her in the salon doing some amazing work. Coming number 5, we have Stevie Wonder. In 1999, Stevie rolled out a few tried and true classics in Miami, and he graciously even tried to give local goddess Gloria Estefan a long-deserved do-over shot at a Super Bowl redemption. But he probably would have been better just taking the stage himself. For the finale, Stevie ended up donning a jacket with African down one sleeve and American down another sleeve, which was a strong statement, but then Gloria turned the beat around to give her Miami fans a salsa percussion, and it would prove that there was a reason why the Super Bowl never asked her to come back and redeem herself at a halftime show to begin with. Not to mention there would then be a cameo from the then hot swing revivalist Big Bad Voodoo Daddy that would remind us all and future historians that the 90s was actually a really weird time to be alive. Coming at number 4 today, we have Gloria Estefan. In 1992, the Super Bowl definitely became a winter magic pageant because this time it was in Minnesota. While the show was filled with giant snowmen and figure skaters from the Olympic team, it also featured Gloria Estefan because obviously at the time when you thought of the Great White North, you would naturally think of Gloria and her sound machine. But as users clicked in to watch the show, they would only find themselves slowly turning away from the show as it was a truly cringe-worthy show of people dancing while waving hockey sticks to Queen's Don't Stop Me Now. All in all, it was just a really weird vibe for the Super Bowl in general, and it became one of those moments that made us all just want to erase the moment from our memories altogether. Plus, who mixes figure skating and football in the first place? Number 3, Shania Twain. Shania Twain's performance in the Super Bowl in 2003 with Sting, and no doubt, definitely didn't impress me much. And it became one of those moments we even forgot Shania Twain actually showed up for because her performance was just sad and she butchered it. You know, the star was bombing her chance to show the whole world that she was a legend in country music when the camera had to do a close-up of the guitar guy not focus in on her while she was creating a mess of the show. Eventually, Sting and Gwen Stefani came along to rescue the show, and it took them a while to fix it, but Gwen was such a natural for the role that when she was able to win over the crowd, it would become strange that they never asked her to come back and do it again. However, it's a good thing they made Shania go first because if she closed out the show, that probably would have been one of the worst halftime shows to ever hit the stage. Well, I mean, it kind of already was. Number 2, Katy Perry. We all expected a lot to come from Katy Perry's halftime show, but I'm pretty sure we can all agree that we didn't really know what we should expect to come from it. One thing is for certain, after it was all over, we all didn't really know how to comprehend what exactly all went down and what we just witnessed. As Katy's show was loud, weird, and specifically tailored to the internet's tendency to latch on to viral moments and turn them into memes, that's exactly what her performance became. It was one giant meme as she performed on a lion statue
to wearing this really weird flame outfit, but in terms of the actual musical performances, Katie's performance was meh, and the real star of the night actually became Missy Elliott, who strutted out in a surprise appearance and blew the crowd away. She didn't just even steal the spotlight, she commandeered it. And coming in number 1 today, we have Shakira. After Shakira teamed up with J-Lo to do the halftime show in 2020, the FCC would receive over 1,000 complaints from viewers who had something to say about their performance, as the singers felt like it was appropriate to dance on poles, twerk, and belly dance and make suggestive gestures, with most of the complaints coming from parents who felt like their children were exposed to X-rated content. Other adults thought that their show encouraged people to work in the wrong careers, and some people were just generally upset that there was no public warnings given before the show about how suggestive their performances would be. One viewer would even point out that the pair's show was less of a musical act and it turned more into an X-rated performance. While the general performance was amazing musically, I can see why people were so upset over the matter, as when Janet Jackson did a similar performance, she would find herself being shunned, while these two ladies found themselves being praised for their risky behavior. At number 10, we have Kanye West. Nobody loves Kanye more than Kanye loves himself, and the rapper's overinflated ego and arrogance dates all the way back to when he first entered the entertainment scene. However, it seems as high as Kanye seemed to climb in the charts, the worse his attitude got. I think we can all remember the time when this egomaniac infamously interrupted Taylor Swift during her acceptance speech at the VMAs, and it's been downhill ever since. By thinking he's the best rapper of all time, Kanye's recent anti-Semitic comments and outrageous spew of hate have businesses like The Gap, Adidas, and Balenciaga wanting to end their partnerships. However, the star refuses to be cancelled and has continued to go on his rants for the whole world to see. Kanye has claimed that people are simply cutting ties with him to score points, and they're being asked not to do business with him because they're trying to mute him. However, he has assured people that he isn't going anywhere anytime soon, so his spiral's only going to get worse from here. And at number 9, we have Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel is a well-known NFL football player who is known for his shameless reputation. At one point, Johnny has had a lot of potential to be one of the greatest football stars of his generation. However, his oversized ego and excessive run-in with the law proves as quick as Johnny rose to fame, the quicker it all went to his head and his career started to crumble beneath his feet. Over his course of the time spent in the NFL, Johnny would become highly overlooked due to his lack of commitment to the sport and his inability to stay out of trouble and avoid his outrageous party lifestyle. The star's flagrant disregard for authority would make him a difficult player to work with, and by 2015 the Cleveland Browns would even drop him from the team and he would end up losing $2 million. Since Johnny hasn't been able to find another team willing to pick him up, still today his party lifestyle has slowed him down, and it proves that his ego is far too big for his own good. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. At number 8, we have Nick Cannon. Since starring in the Nickelodeon sketch show comedy All That, Nick Cannon has become the center of attention, and it's not always for the right reasons. After all the fame and fortune went to Nick's head, his ego got a little too big and none of us could handle it. When the star publicly feuded with NBC executives about a joke he made in a stand-up comedy sketch that referenced AGT, Nick would walk away because he didn't want to abide by the company's policies. And after a stint of hateful remarks made on his Canon Class podcast towards the Jewish community, no one could support the star any longer, and CBS would go as far to cut ties with the Wilding Out host and would go as far as to fire him from his own show. There's no doubt that Nick's overbearing persona and large inflated ego has caused a lot of friction for the star, and he's definitely not bouncing back from this anytime soon. At number 7, we have Charlie Sheen. When you think about Hollywood's most egocentric stars, Charlie Sheen always comes to mind. From his ego trips, vicious insults, and a long list of rants that sound like confusing riddles have led to Charlie's parcel of an overconfident disposition. The star once had a pretty successful career as an actor, however it all came to an end in 2011 when he would be booted from his lead role on 2.5 Men due to his outrageous behavior. When the star refused to walk away, he started to take very public jabs at anyone who disagreed with him. This included his co-stars, producers, and even his baby mamas. Charlie Sheen was so out of control during the time, he made an utter mockery of himself in front of the whole world.
The actor would go on to show us that he was very self-absorbed and that he had no regrets for anything he was doing. Today, companies still refuse to work with Charlie, and his finances have taken a major hit due to his excessive lifestyle. At number 6, we have 50 Cent. 50 Cent has been in business for what seems like forever, and his time in the spotlight has definitely taken a toll and has amped up not only his finances but his ego as well. In 2007, 50 Cent would earn himself the title of the second wealthiest rapper, and since he's been no stranger to boast about his large bankroll. After all the money went to 50 Cent's head, the star would frequently engage in social media brawls with people who rubbed the wrong way on him. And this would include his ex-girlfriends, son, and Floyd Mayweather. At one point, he even took to his Instagram to post pictures of his mansion with the caption, "I'm not in jail, I'm in my casino." Just before filing for bankruptcy, his outrageous comments about the LGBTQ community would ultimately call for the star to be cancelled, and following his claim to financial ruin, he would be ordered to pay $20 million, which would make his ego way more than his assets.
Number 5. Fergie. Speaking of the end of a career, in 2011, Fergie alongside the Black Eyed Peas were leading the Super Bowl halftime show with their special guest, Slash. Yes, Slash from Guns N' Roses. Going from their signature dance music to straight up classic rock was an interesting change of pace, but it got quite a bit worse when Fergie belted out Sweet Child of Mine alongside the guitarist, giving it what I'm sure was her best shot. But it just didn't go that well. It was not a sweet child, it was a child with a temper tantrum. Fans of the band almost universally revolted for the horrible rendition, and it was just not a good time. Not too long after this, Fergie took to the NBA floor to sing the national anthem, and while it was good for the first bit, it just kinda went off the rails towards the end, and unfortunately these two performances just didn't help her career, and she hasn't really recovered since. Number 4. Christina Aguilera. Singing the national anthem in front of a worldwide audience of well over 100 million people is not easy, as proven by Christina Aguilera, who really should be able to keep it together. This was actually before the kickoff of the Super Bowl. Aguilera's voice boomed through the stadium, and it was amazing, as it usually is, but she made the mistake of singing the wrong words at the wrong time. The star confused Over the Ramparts We Watched We're So Gallantly Streaming with What So Proudly We Watched at the Twilight's Last Gleaming. Aguilera later complained that she lost her place during the song, but no matter the reason, it was still one of the worst national anthem performances ever, which for the conservative watchers of the bowl is just not okay. Number 3. The Rock. Not a halftime show moment, and also not really a cancellation, but it was just weird. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was brought in to hype up the Los Angeles crowd just before the Rams and the Bengals kicked off the Super Bowl 56. He brought his usual showmanship to the field and delivered a very intense speech to the crowd, but NFL fans and Super Bowl viewers still found the monologue kinda strange. Members of the Bengals and the Rams obviously did as well. The NFL captured mic'd up footage of the Bengals and Rams reacting to The Rock's monologue, with Joe Burrow's quote probably best summing it all up when he said, quote, "What is he doing out there?" And then, on top of that, Zach Taylor was spotted cracking up at Johnson, while Aaron Donald was told, quote, "That's going to be you in 10 years, your acting career." I thought his speech was fine, but for some reason, seemingly the whole stadium turned on him that day. Poor guy. Number 2. Kanye West. No, he never performed at the halftime show for the Super Bowl, but that's not what we're talking about. Kanye is not new to being cancelled, but in 2022 he attended the Super Bowl a few hours after the artist and designer shared several posts targeting his ex-wife, Kim Kardashian, and her new boyfriend, Pete Davidson. And this was only shortly after the rapper dissed the comedian in a song. When he showed up at the Super Bowl, the artist made the bold choice of wearing what looks like a black sack over his head, with some people just assuming that he was hiding after his interactions with Pete and Kim. But everyone knew who he was, obviously, and when he was shown on the Jumbotron with his kids sitting next to him, the crowd at the game let them know that they were not fans of his as they booed and roared out all over. This didn't get him cancelled, but his actions from this point and going forward have just caused the artist to be universally cancelled ever since. Number 1. The Right Shark. In the 2015 halftime show, Katy Perry took to the stage and her whole thing was just a fever dream of an extremely colorful vacation. It was wild. What made it so much fun though was the 2 backup dancing sharks that Katy had behind her while singing Teenage Dream. Specifically, the world focused on the left shark, who seemed to just be having a rough time. He couldn't match the pace of the song, and he was just constantly seeming to make up brand new dance moves all of his own. A mascotted shark that doesn't know what the hell is going on is just so much fun. happen, and it's all anyone could talk about for days after. But by contrast, the right shark was doing great, but his fishy friends stole the show to the point that people accused the right shark of being boring. The right shark was just doing his job, but because of his lack of imagination, he will never work in this town again.